Today we're breaking down everything we know so far about Ahsoka Season 2. Are the shoots actually finished? Why hasn't the release date been announced yet? Who's returning to the cast? How is the Baylan situation resolved? And how much of Anakin might we see this season? In other words, we're gathering both the latest updates and my personal expectations for the season into one single video. By the way, we haven't been doing Star Wars content for a while, and to be honest, when my last few Star Wars videos didn't get the views I expected, I started thinking maybe these videos just don't get the same interest anymore. So I eased off a bit. But Ahsoka's second season got me excited again. And if you want to see more content about Ahsoka or Star Wars shows, movies, animations in general, you need to let me feel that in this video. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and I'll see that there's real demand for Star Wars content and keep it going consistently. If you're ready, let's begin. For me, Ahsoka Season 2 is more than just a new season. It feels like a full-on comeback celebration. Because in the Star Wars universe, after Anakin Skywalker, my favorite character is Ahsoka. I've been following her since I was a kid, from the very first day she appeared in animation. And as the years went by, my love for her didn't fade, it actually grew stronger with every new story. So even the sentence, Ahsoka is coming back, automatically switches on the excitement for me. And let me say this from the start. When this season arrives, we won't just be watching a continuation. I believe we're about to open a chapter that will seriously expand both the emotional and mythological sides of Star Wars. Let's start with the clear part. Ahsoka's second season is really happening. We're leaving the will it actually happen question behind. The Filoni side has confirmed that work is underway, and the first hints like concept art and sketches have already been shared. So the question, will we see Ahsoka again, is over. We will. But since Disney Plus still hasn't announced a specific day or month for the release, what we know right now is mostly based on what stage production is in and how the cast is shaping up. And honestly, that tells us this. Just because a date hasn't been announced doesn't mean there's uncertainty. The project itself is very real. The most reassuring detail on the production side is this. Filming has been completed and we're now in post-production. That means behind the scenes, the processes that create the magic of Star Wars VFX, editing, sound design, color grading are actively in progress. So the new season isn't just a plan on paper. It's a fully shot, finished season that's now in its final touches. At this point, the question isn't, is it coming, but when will they announce it? And I think the moment Disney Plus reveals that date, the internet will split in two. Those saying it made it to 2026 and those saying no way, it's slipping to 2027. But the fact that filming is done at least reassures us of one thing. This season is on the way. My relationship with the first season was honestly a little crazy, I admit it. I was so excited that I knew I wouldn't be able to handle watching it weekly, so I didn't watch it at all while it was airing. Because I can't handle that wait. For me, it literally turns into torture. To avoid spoilers, I practically avoided anything Star Wars related. I unfollowed accounts, stayed away from channels, even isolated myself on Instagram just to avoid seeing Star Wars content. Then the season ended, and I sat down and finished it in one day, in a single sitting, and I absolutely loved it. Ahsoka's live-action energy, that calm yet heavy aura, the dynamic with Sabine, Ezra's return, and most importantly, the setup of the Thrawn threat. It was very clear that the first season was a setup season, but despite that, I enjoyed it immensely. Now my expectation for the second season is very clear. More action, more Ahsoka, more lightsaber moments, and more Jedi feeling. Because Ahsoka's action scenes are genuinely incredible. That fight choreography, that deadly speed within calmness, and think about it. In a time when almost no Jedi are left, even seeing Ahsoka and Ezra in the same scene, in the same conflict, is enough to get you hyped. I want this season to move from setup to explosion. Bigger conflicts, a harsher sense of war, and yes, I especially want to see more of Anakin. Because in the first season, there was this feeling of, I came to complete your training, but I don't believe that training is truly finished. Ahsoka still has lessons to take from Anakin. Even that final moment where we see him watching her from afar felt like it was screaming, this bond will continue. The cast side of the second season is also one of the things that builds the excitement. Rosario Dawson's return is unquestionable. At this point, everyone accepts that Dawson is the one carrying this character in live action. Natasha Liu Bordeaux returning as Sabine, the signals that Mary Elizabeth Winstead will have more screen time as Hera, Eman Esfandi feeling like he's back and here to stay as Ezra. When you put all of that together, it's very clear that Season 2 will carry the Rebels' legacy even more strongly. And of course, Thrawn, Lars Mikkelsen's performance, especially that cold strategist presence in the season finale, was exactly what Thrawn should be. That's why watching Thrawn on a larger scale, making bigger moves in the second season, is one of the biggest attractions of the season for me. But the thing that excites me most on the cast side is, of course, Anakin's return. The information that Hayden Christensen will be part of the second season makes those unforgettable World Between Worlds episodes from Season 1 even more significant. Because those scenes weren't just nostalgia, they were untangling the knot inside Ahsoka. My theory is this. Ahsoka started healing in the first season, but she didn't finish. That encounter with Anakin brought her back to life. We saw a more present, more alive, more free Ahsoka. Not continuing that in Season 2 would be a huge waste. Even Anakin smiling and watching from afar in the finale tells me this. This bond will continue, and Anakin's role will be more than just a cameo. And then there's the Baylan Skoll situation. He was one of the most charismatic and intriguing characters of the first season. Ray Stevenson's performance was truly unforgettable, which made the question of whether the character would continue a major one. Now that Rory McCann is taking over the role, it's both emotionally and narratively critical, because leaving Baylan unfinished would mean leaving that call on Peridea unfinished. Those statues, that Mortis connection, that ancient force feeling, those were the biggest mythology bomb of the season. And Filoni has already made it clear that he intends to continue this line. Baylan's story won't end on the contrary. It will find its payoff in the second season. On the story side, the thing that makes me think the most is the risk of the season being split in two. On one side, Ahsoka and Sabine stranded on Paridia. On the other, Thrawn returning to the main galaxy and tightening the pressure on the New Republic. These two lines can run in parallel, but here's what I don't want. Watching They're There, These Are Here all season long and only seeing them come together in the finale. In my opinion, Ahsoka has to return to the main galaxy. At the latest by the end of the second episode, ideally even in the first episode, they need to find a solution. Because Ahsoka needs to return and step into the war. Without Ahsoka returning to the main galaxy, the Thrawn threat won't feel like it has truly hit the wall. And the Ezra topic. In Season 2, I want to see a lot more of Ezra. With Ahsoka, with Sabine, but especially with Ahsoka. Because moments where the two of them move like Jedi in the same scene, fight together, reminisce about the old days, those would not be fan service, but genuine emotional reward moments for Star Wars. Just imagine, Ahsoka and Ezra side by side, lightsabers raised, facing a massive threat. And that's not just action, it's also the message that this universe still carries the Jedi spirit. In an era where so few Jedi remain, seeing these two together would boost everyone's morale and seriously get people hyped. I think the Paridia side will be the part of Season 2 that truly expands Star Wars. Because it's not just a new planet. It feels like a gateway connecting the Force mythology to that more ancient and mysterious layer we've seen in animation for years. Those massive statues, the father figure, the Mortis connection, it feels like Filoni is deliberately expanding this line. Here's what I expect. Paridia won't just be a we're stranded, let's escape location for Ahsoka and Sabine. It'll be a trial ground that transforms them as characters and completes Ahsoka's spiritual journey. And Baylan following that call fits perfectly into the center of this. He's not acting like a warrior, but like someone on a quest. Learning what that call truly is in the second season could be the season's biggest reward. The World Between Worlds possibility, in my opinion, has become one of Filoni's favorite toys. In the first season, we saw how it works in live action. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't feel like just a nostalgia door. It's a narrative tool that allows characters to confront their past. Even Natasha Lou Bordizzo's season wrap post creating a "Are we going back to World Between Worlds" feeling among fans isn't for nothing. My expectation is this. If the Mortis line on Paridia truly opens up, Ahsoka encountering Anakin again wouldn't just be possible. It would be almost inevitable. Because Ahsoka's training doesn't feel finished. There's still an unresolved chapter, and Filoni might reopen that chapter one more time, but heavier this time. On the main galaxy front, Thrawn's business is no joke. His return in the Season 1 finale felt like the beginning of the big threat. In Season 2, the New Republic needs to take this threat seriously. The era of getting lost in bureaucracy has to end. This is where the Admiral Ackbar detail becomes extremely exciting. Him facing off against Thrawn means a strategy war on screen. I've always loved space battles in Star Wars, but when you have a character like Thrawn, that battle won't just be explosions. It will be move, counter-move, trap, twist. In other words, we'll watch a battle of intellect. If Filoni plays this card right, Ackbar versus Thrawn could be one of the most unforgettable moments of the season. The rumor that Hera will have a bigger role is important for this very reason. Because Hera's job is exactly that, being in the war, making decisions, taking risks, holding people together. In the first season, we mostly watched Hera as a commander trying to do the right thing under political pressure. If she gets pulled into more action in the second season, the Ahsoka universe won't remain solely Jedi-centered. The team spirit we call the rebel spirit will feel stronger, and I like that. Because the best Star Wars stories usually grow not through one person's heroism, but through different characters uniting for the same goal. There's also the romantic tone issue. That word honestly sounds surprising, but I don't think it necessarily means a big love story. In Star Wars, romance can be as small as two characters exchanging a look, or as heavy as a sacrifice. For example, on the Sabine Ezra side, or in Ahsoka finally allowing herself to feel a bit of breathing room. romance can also mean a more human warmth. The only thing I want is this: that tone shouldn't soften the action and the threat, because what the second season needs is to grow. Let the scale of the war grow and let Ahsoka's inner world deepen. And if romance makes that growth more emotional and more impactful, then bring it on. For me, the most critical pacing issue of the second season is how long Ahsoka and Sabine stay on Peridea. Yes, it's a goldmine in terms of mythology. The Mortis statues, call, the world between worlds possibility, these could be the parts that truly expand Star Wars. But at the same time, we know this: Thrawn won't sit idle in the main galaxy. The New Republic's weakness, the regrouping of Imperial remnants, strategic maneuvers, if Ahsoka is in one galaxy and Thrawn is in another for the entire season, moving in parallel and only converging at the finale, I think that sense of urgency drops while watching. That's why I want Ahsoka to find a way back to the main galaxy by around the second episode at the latest. Because without Ahsoka stepping back onto the battlefield, we can't test the true weight of the Thrawn threat with Jedi intervention, and the season's promise of a major conflict would feel incomplete. I think the ideal structure would be this: the first episode raises the mystery on Paridia even higher, shows the danger of what Baylan is searching for, and forces Ahsoka and Sabine not just to escape, but to understand. In the second episode, a doorway to the solution opens. Whether it's a gateway like the world between worlds, a path connected to Night Sister heritage, or a signal somehow sent by Ezra, the main galaxy side. Whatever it is, a way back is found, and the rest of the season brings the two lines closer together within the same galaxy. That way, the mythology on Paridia isn't wasted, and in the rest of the season we get to see Ahsoka in the middle of the war. Because I want this season to be the one where Ahsoka truly takes the stage. More lightsabers, more strategy, more conflict, more moments of decision. My expectation regarding Ezra comes into play right here. Of course, it's great to see Ezra, but more than Ezra's presence, I want to see Ezra's activity as a Jedi. When he stands side by side with Ahsoka, it's not just two characters sharing the frame, it's the spirit of the Rebels era and the weight of the Clone Wars era merging in one place. I want scenes where Ahsoka and Ezra fight together, back each other up, give each other advice. If possible, let a major action set piece in one episode focus entirely on the two of them. Lightsabers, force moments, coordinated moves. Because in this era where almost no Jedi remain, seeing two powerful Jedi figures active at the same time truly creates that Star Wars is back feeling. And of course, Anakin. In this season, I don't want Anakin to just appear briefly. I want him to be part of Ahsoka's story. In the first season, there was a sense of, I came to complete your training, but I don't think the training is over. Ahsoka is still confronting the shadow of the past, still carrying certain burdens. Even Anakin watching from afar in the finale felt like he was saying, I'm here. So in the second season, it would make a lot of sense to see Anakin guiding Ahsoka across several episodes. Whether it's flashbacks, the world between worlds, or a mental, spiritual trial for Ahsoka, this bond needs to continue. Because Ahsoka's strongest moments usually come when she's carrying both the external war and her internal war at the same time. As for my other Jedi expectation, in the Ahsoka series, I want to see Jedi energy beyond just Ahsoka. Even feeling the shadow of powerful Jedi is exciting. Seeing a figure like Yoda, even in a brief moment of advice, would elevate Ahsoka's journey to a completely different level. The Obi-Wan topic is split for me. I would absolutely love it, especially in flashbacks, it would be incredible, but these kinds of cameos can sometimes create unnecessary expectations. So, I'm not saying this as it will definitely happen, but rather if they build it logically, it would be amazing. In other words, instead of forcing Obi-Wan directly into the present timeline, using him in short but powerful flashbacks that show the lessons Ahsoka took from the past would both satisfy fans and keep the story focused. In summary, in this season, I want more action, more Ahsoka scenes, to see Ahsoka and Ezra side by side in real Jedi moments, and for Anakin to play a truly tangible role in Ahsoka's journey. The mystery side on Paridia obviously carries incredible potential, but what I really expect is for Ahsoka to return and step into the war herself, to stand directly against the Thrawn threat on the battlefield. Because the moment Ahsoka raises her lightsaber, Star Wars switches back into that epic mode, and I truly believe the second season will take us exactly there. Now it's your turn. In which episode do you think Ahsoka and Sabine should leave Paridia? How much of Anakin do we see this season? And at what point do you think Ezra and Ahsoka's fight scenes will explode? Make sure to write your theories in the comments. I'll be reading all of them, and let's discuss the best theories in the next video. If you enjoy this kind of Star Wars content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next video.